Hey,
Hey,
what's going on, man?
what's happening, man?
It's good. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, bro. Um, see, Rob is in there, joined us,
Hey, Rob.
and I think even Max is on there, and of course some of the folks. Uh, I see a number of folks on here. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us. So, Rudy, man, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
It's good to be seen and not viewed, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
I'm back from Nairobi. It was an amazing experience, and making that adjustment to being home, and it is quite an adjustment. Um, Even with the time frame change, I think what is 8 now, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 5 in the morning in Nairobi, so I'm. I don't know if I want dinner or breakfast right now. But man, how are you?
You know, life's been good. May 28th, Juanita and I rewired. Some people call it retirement, and it's been really cool. You know, I ain't been to church since May. Just kind of rethinking life, deciding what it's going to look like for me on this next part of the journey. But I'm having a lot of fun, Ramo. I really am. I'm having a lot of fun. Right.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like now that you've rewired, you're not in the church every day. What gives you joy now? Like, what gives you a sense of meaning and joy now?
You know, so my life's work has been really helping people at a real cellular level. So about a year ago, I took really a position or an assignment, I should say, as the executive director of the Bread of Life, a nonprofit that Juanita and I started in 1992, and that that assignment, over the last year has just really been life-giving. I found myself really kind of leaning into a resurrection of sorts.
Hmm.
Uh, I was a pastor for 31 years, and now I think I'm more of a sort of a social impact architect of sorts.
Mm.
Kind of designing social impact for the community that I love, a community that I am intricately connected to because it's the community I was born in. And imagine being in a place 67 years minus 10. I was gone for about 10, but imagine being in a place for a half a century, and what the connections over a half a century of connections can mean in terms of good to and benefit to a community, to a neighborhood. So all of these, there are people in power that literally I grew up with.
Hmm.
They know my whole story. I know their whole story. Parts of those stories I go to the grave with. Parts of my story they go to the grave with. But in the midst of that, they know that I'm a person that can be trusted with we'll call it good. And as a result of being able to be trusted with good, we have been able to multiply that impact in our neighborhood to help thousands. So it's really been good. We've raised millions of bucks, millions of dollars this
Yeah,
past year.
I like that. That you can be trusted with good. I feel like that's a loaded statement, though. Like, what do you mean you can be trusted with good?
Yeah, years ago, one of my mentors taught me people don't necessarily give money to people just because they have a good idea. People give money that they trust with that money who have a good idea. So as a trustworthy guy, you know, proven, you know, road tested over the years. It's, you know, people have extended literally millions to me, subsequently us, and ultimately the community around us. So we've been able to really multiply that good from one seed to a lot of good stuff. And it's been really, really
Wow.
exciting.
Yeah, I can relate. I think it's, in essence, what you're saying, that being trusted with good is basically because of relationships, that
Relationships. And, you know,
you, people
relationships,
know you.
I'm sorry.
Now I'm saying people know you, so they have a track record, you have a track record, then they can trust it.
Exactly. And, you know, at the core of that, you know, it's a, you know, people know my whole story. So they know, you know, I was on the other side for a long time, doing a lot of stuff, and I did it really well. so, so when I came over to this side of good, I came with the same passion, the same desire to do an excellent job at what I was doing, whatever I was doing at the time. So it's been translating to something that's really been really cool. I mean, it's been a beautiful movement. We've seen a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, now, like you said, you've spent most of your life minus 10 years in Houston, in the community, um, on the other side of good, right? And now all these years doing good. I'm curious though, why, of all the issues you could have chose to address and problems to help solve, why people who are homeless, why that community?
You know, I think there are actually three real targets of my work, my life's work. One of those targets is actually food insecurity, and I have been literally addressing food insecurity since my first day in ministry in 1992. But you know, this past week I've been kind of in a time of refreshing, and I did some writing yesterday. While I was writing, Ramal, I was reflecting um, on the prophets in my life, the people who have spoken words to me that impacted my life in significantly positive ways. Well, one of those prophets was my auntie Maymay, who was the person. She was my first encounter with commodities. She was a commodities broker. You know, you do stocks and bonds and commodities, so you know what I'm talking about. Except the commodity that she brokered was government cheese, and what she did with that commodity was made sure everybody in the community got their share of that commodity. You know, I was reflecting back, and as far back as I can remember, uh, I have been in the process of addressing food insecurity. You know, not only from I would ride with her to pick up the commodities from the sort of it was a warehouse that had all of these government commodities, all of the cheese and all of the other stuff that the government would distribute to communities, impoverished communities. Well, I would ride with her, and I would feel the process. Now, I got to tell you this. So I'm feeling something right now that I never had an explanation for, but I realize now more than ever before, I'm an empath, but not only am I an empath, I was a sensitive child. I didn't know I was a sensitive child. I just knew I felt everybody and everything around me as I was growing up. Well, imagine a kid with his auntie at the place picking up literally relief products, relief food, putting those in her car, taking those back to the neighborhood, and ultimately distributing those items to the community. And I was just reflecting, I've been doing this, Ramal, my entire life. So that same auntie had a grocery store. In that grocery store, she made sure everybody that came in that store, if they needed food, they got food. She had a little card. It was an index box with white index cards, and she would write, literally, if the person didn't have money, she would write what they bought. They would sign it, how much they owed her. Well, of course, when people got the money, they'd go to the store down the street and spend that money with someone else. But she never changed her approach to a person when they were hungry. And I'm thinking, that's my entire life. Hunger was one. And then, just as a result of just an industrious, hustling father who believed in real estate, we always had places that gave folk places to live. Then ultimately build a place that gave people a place to live by the hour. You know what I mean?
To live by the hour.
But in the midst of that, what I reflected on was the connection between food security and housing has always been top of mind for me from the time I can remember. So now I'm doing this as mission, my personal mission, to see the community around me impacted positively, and my friends around the country who support this work have made it happen. I mean, it's just really been cool. So I'm in a zone. I'm kind of in a zone now that is different from anything I've ever experienced. I think in terms of being evolved, I've been in therapy for 38 years. In the midst of that introspection, I have ultimately come to who is and what is Rudy Rasmus. I know that person today to be one who cares deeply, who is dissociative to a degree, which means when people don't demonstrate a reciprocal love, I can walk away relatively easily as well. But in the midst of it, you're laughing because you really know. But in the midst of it, I'm at a point in my life, I think, where I am the most comfortable with me than I've ever been.
Wow. That's really great to hear. You're having fun, and you seem like you just have a ton of clarity. Does that clarity add value to the fun? I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, the clarity adds value to the fun, and I think the tequila helps. You know what I mean? But, yeah.
Man, so that's the other thing I love about you, man. You are always Rudy. Like, there's no pretense, there's no pretending. You know what you're gonna get every time you get it, right?
Yeah. I think the beauty of there not being two of me. In essence, I don't have a Rudy that presents to one group of people one way, and a Rudy that presents to another group of people another. And that shit is too hard to remember. I can't what I So I'm just the same cat every time now that can be relatively disconcerting for people who have an expectation of me that sort of extends beyond how I might be feeling that particular day. It's just, so folk gotta, come on.
Yeah. Now, the authenticity that you bring, I remember, we've traveled quite a bit together, and, both around the country and to a number of different countries.
Yeah.
And I've seen your compassion just pop up in a moment, and you make a decision to be a part of what other people are doing in their communities. And I've just always, I know that it's your love of people. But I've always been curious, and I've imagined other people were too, like what brought it about. You mentioned your family story, right? Your aunt, that you've always been a part of food, security, real estate because of your dad. But you don't come from hunger, right? You never missed a meal. You always had a good home to live in, like,
Yeah.
and your family seems to be, from the story that I know and the story that's in the book I Wish My Dad, where does this come from in your family values? I'm curious about that, because after spending the last few months in East Africa, I have a deeper appreciation for the legacy of family values. So how did that start? Like, can you trace it back to, part of the family story that's even beyond your aunt?
Yeah. I really believe that every family has um, let me put it like this. I think someone in every family has to ultimately make a sacrifice.
Mm.
Or let me say it another way. In every family, someone is ultimately sacrificed.
Mm.
What that sacrifice means is that they don't necessarily live fully their lives until they come to a certain place, a certain point. Prior to that, their lives are really part of the people who provide leadership to them, the people who are in authority over them. So for my life, I was literally raised as a person who would ultimately fulfill my dad's hustle. So he raised me to hustle, which meant he taught me to negotiate for everything. So if I wanted a bicycle, I literally had to do a business plan when I was a kid. If I wanted to take on a venture, I would have to literally prove how that venture would make sense. Now imagine I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, negotiating with a grown man who has at that point the power to either make it happen or not. What I learned to do was to present my case in an impassioned way, to the point where my case either made sense or it didn't, and if it did, it got funded, and I went on with the opportunity. So watch this. In the midst of the journey, there were people who also helped me in that same vein, who taught me, and I think the sacrifices that were mine to be made, I made those sacrifices along the way. Where today I owe no man nothing but love. That's a scripture.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a powerful and liberating statement. I owe no man nothing but love. Yeah. That's different from people who want to just be debt free, right?
That's different. So some banks, some debt money. I mean, I ain't got no problem. I borrow millions, okay? I owe millions right now, but that is that's a different category of debt. Um, but what I owe my fellow human is nothing but love.
That's beautiful. Now, you talk about your dad. I've heard so many stories about your dad. I feel like I I know him, although I never was blessed with the opportunity to meet him. But every now and then, if I'm going through something or if there's an idea, you'll start with, here's something my daddy used to say. right? And it can be very direct and sharp, uh, but always relevant and important information. I'm curious, you know, you talk about him and I Wish My Dad, and as a father of two and a grandfather now, what are the most important things you would want your children to know about your dad?
Wow. You know, man, that guy was it was something else. I say it all the time that the best of everything I know I learned from him, and the worst of everything I know I learned from him. It was actually a blessing to actually be able to learn the best and the worst from that one person. Um, there's several things I would want my kids and grandkids. Well, my kids know him because they literally came up with him. But I want my grandkids to know that this was a guy who who at 10 years old went to live with his sister, and that shaped a narrative for him around abandonment that ultimately um, um, uh, made him unsettled in a challenging way for the people closest to him. Um, but it was in that abandonment that he also was a person who was a definite person of his word. So he would always tell me, um, "My word is my bond." That was his word. My word is my bond. And what he meant was, if he told you something, or if he made a commitment to you to do something, then he was gonna get it done. And I watched him do that throughout his entire life. The second thing I would say is he was one of the most truthful people, and I think my my inclination towards just telling the truth, regardless. He was one of the most truthful people I've ever known, because he would tell me. He said, "Hey, um, I'm going to tell you the truth because I don't want the responsibility of having to remember what and how I told it to you the last time." And 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 what I realized along the way is that sometimes that truth, man, was painful, and sometimes that truth was inconvenient, and sometimes that truth was awkward as hell. But the one thing I always knew is that I could count on what he was telling me. Number three, he was that guy who would go and get his friend if his friend needed gotten.
Mm.
All right. And I learned that. And that's how I am. You know, you, my friend, you know that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've experienced that.
yeah, my friends out here who might be on here tonight, you know, if I'm your friend, I'm your friend. I mean, it ain't like, I'm your friend on Tuesday if everything is going okay. I'm your friend through the thick and the thin of it. And that's what I learned really from old man in terms of how he rolled. He had five really good friends. Um, I never saw more than three of those men inside my house during my childhood, inside my house. But my dad had a way about, folk didn't have to be in your house to be in your life. So he called it meeting his people in the world, and that's what he did. That's what I do. I mean, I never meet strangers. I'm moving around all the time, and ultimately I cultivate family everywhere I go.
That's one. I want to come back to two things. So it sounds like the three things that you would want your grandchildren to know and people to know about your dad is: one, keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Two, be honest.
Tell
It's tell the truth, because it's easier to keep track of the truth than anything else. And then the third is, would you say it's loyalty, friendship?
loyalty.
Yeah.
And loyalty, it's and I'm loyal to a fault. Loyalty has cost me millions. Loyalty has put my life in danger. Uh, um, but as I reflect on any of those moments, I wouldn't do any of them differently.
Yeah. I have a question though.
Yeah.
I know love is a big thing for you, right? Mm-hmm. Even the slogan at St. John's, where you are pastor emeritus now, is "We love you and there's nothing you can do about it," right? Love is a big thing. And then, but loyalty is also a big thing. So, which is more important, loyalty or love?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. But I think you can't have loyalty without love, and you can't have love without loyalty. So my definition of love is this: love is allowing a person to be who and what they choose for themselves, without any insistence that they meet my expectations. Now, if I'm leaning into loving that person, whoever that person is, the person in front of me, then I'm saying, whoever you have chosen to be for yourself, I'm down with that. Now, I extend that to every human being I encounter. But in the midst of that relationship, the depth of that relationship is determined by reciprocal loyalty. If the person is loyal, I'm loyal, and we go deep into this relationship together with reciprocity around loyalty. That's something I learned in the streets too. You can't, you can't be half-hearted and ride with a person when that person really needs to be ridden with.
Yeah, you have to be either all in or all out.
All in and all out. Yeah, if you're not in, stay out the damn car.
Yeah. You're gonna get everybody hurt. Yeah. Yeah, I've been around some people who are like, man, they just shouldn't have been there, right? And they knew it. They were trying to prove something that they knew they really wasn't built for.
Right.
So back to talking about your dad and your willingness to share your "I wish my dad" story. I'm grateful for that, and that story has been shared literally pretty much all over the world now. I had the opportunity to share it while I was also in Kenya, and I'm just grateful. I see Max on here, Rob, others who are also in this book. But I'm curious as to your thoughts on the value of men sharing their "I wish my dad" stories, because some people will say, I don't wish, or why should people even wish things were different? What would you say is the value and sharing stories like yours and others?
I have lived long enough now to know that every human experience I encountered made me who I am today. And when I think about like the things that were extremely painful, uncomfortable, difficult, I'm reminded today that all of those things, all of them, literally made me who I am right now. So I wouldn't trade any experiences for anything. And even the ones that brought me to the very brink of life as I know it, all of those were professors, teachers, instructors that shaped me into the human I am right now. And I I'm cool with this human, you know. Now I'm hella flawed. I got issues, no doubt about it. That's why I've been in therapy for 38 years. I have thoughts that, man, if some of my thoughts were like on the outside, Yeah, I mean, but the beauty of being able to navigate those thoughts, and even more so, not acting on all of them,
Mm,
you know, and
that impulse control.
impulse control. And I think that's what experience has ultimately taught me along the way. That first of all, everything doesn't have to be said, and everything doesn't have to be done. Some things can just be left undone and unsaid, and it'll be okay. And that's life. That's what I have learned in these 67 years.
Yeah, I think that that comes across in your story in the book, that there were things that were undone, and I don't know that it ended up that everything wasn't said. There was some beautiful closure in your story around some things. But the end goal of it was like, and in the midst of it all, you can still be okay,
Yeah.
right? You can still learn to love all of you and learn from all of the experiences, even the
Yeah.
most difficult ones.
Yeah, and that's true. You know, one of my therapists, who I've been with now for quite a while, told me a few years ago, I had this real burning need to tell my mother something, right? Who's still alive, 92 years old, still, still driving, you know. I mean,
And riding her bike every now and then.
and, right. And my therapist said, Rudy, at this point, is it really important? And I'm thinking, yeah, it's important, and she said, well, think about it. What will be changed as a result of you saying that to her at this point in her life? And I sat back for a moment, I thought about it, and I said, nothing. And then she told me something. She said, what would happen if you just let her live the rest of her days feeling that she was an amazing parent? And I said, that's something right there. And I'm thinking, if my kids are on tonight, that's something you can do. All right, you can let me roll out of here thinking I was just fucking amazing.
Amazing.
But the reality is, I know I've been a challenging parent. We come into this thing without a rule book. We come into this without knowing what the hell we're doing. We come to this thing just really trying to figure it out one moment at a time, and then ultimately we get to the other side of it and we look like geniuses. But the reality is there's wreckage as a result of our discovery, and that's what my work now at this point in my life is to fix as much of that wreckage as I can before I'm dead. Because I buried two friends this past week, right? These were close friends, guys that have been with me on the journey, the ministry journey, the missions journey, for my entire 30 plus years. And these brothers died in the same week, Larry Payne and Alvin Bird. And I was just with Alvin the week before, and I was with Larry a couple of months before that. And what all of these deaths do for me, and they do this like often, because I'm at an age now where people in my life just disappear, right? They remind me that that life is really like this, and what we do uh, right there is really important, and mostly what we do right there is be present to each other when we can, you know.
Yeah, you many years ago, I tell the story often when I'm out speaking. Help me find my 6-word sentence.
Yeah.
And I have made changes to it. I feel like it evolves, it changes as I evolve and grow into it, and find deeper awareness. But what is your 6-word sentence? And I'm curious if it's still the same.
You know, I tell you, let me tell you tell the viewers the basis of that.
Yeah.
So mentioned my auntie May May. So in 1986, she got diagnosed with cancer. Juanita and I have been married for a year, and this woman was like my grandmother. So I literally, you know, we moved in with her to take care of her,
Mm.
and it was a hard time. She was the most caring, loving human I'd ever known, and my act of gratitude for her was to care for her on her way out. Well, we were sitting one night planning her funeral service. She was close to death, and I wasn't at the time. I wasn't a Christian. I wasn't a believer. You know, this was going to take place at a church where she really was committed to. I mean, you know, this was her church. You know, so I'm thinking, yeah, that's cool. So we're going through. We're planning her funeral, and we get to the place in the funeral where it says remarks. And I called her May May. I said, May May, who do you want to make remarks at your funeral? She said, nobody. I'm thinking, you like you know, you the godmother in this neighborhood. You know, you the person. And she said, baby, I don't want anybody to say anything at my funeral. She said, if they needed to have said something to me, they would have said it already.
Mm.
All right. Then she said this, baby, I live my eulogy every day. Ah, and I leaned back. I thought about this, and I've had time to think about this, like over the years. And what she told me was her eulogistic remark, literally, what she wanted somebody to say at her funeral was how she treated that person in the moment when she was right in front of them.
Mm.
So imagine this. I'm with you. You feel the love. I feel the love. The remark I'm going to say was, man, I love that guy. The last time I was with him, I felt the love. And he made me feel like few people made me feel. Right? What she knew was every time she stood in front of a person, she was literally instructing that person what she wanted their eulogistic remark to be. So when we talk about the 6 words, so for those of you viewing tonight, I want you to think for a moment. 6 words that if a person could only use 6 words when you die, if they're going to say, okay, this is my eulogistic remark for X, Y, or Z, and it can only be 6 words, what do you want those 6 words to say? So I've been thinking about this again lately, right? And my 6 are still the same. He laughed, he loved, he lived.
Mm. He laughed, he loved, he lived. Yeah, that's Rudy Rasmus for sure. No doubt.
Yeah.
We have never finished a call without laughing. you treat every person with love, and you live all gas, no brakes. That's for sure. But I was gonna say, you know, being in Kenya for those 68 days, not knowing pretty much anyone really, and having to push myself to go outside on many occasions, I would say, now, what would Rudy do, right? Because I'm an introvert, right? And I'm like, I got to go outside and meet people now. How do I do this? And I would think to myself, what would Rudy do? And so I would like walk down the street, and I would go to a coffee shop, and I would do things that were more you than me in the beginning. Be like, just random people. So how you doing? Like, I would never ask a random person how to, but you would. And the thing I always watch with you is you don't just ask the question. You really want to know the answer, right? It's genuine curiosity, and you're going to make eye contact, right? And it's real concern. So it could not be contrived, right? Because it wouldn't work. I was like, okay, I gotta really care if I'm gonna ask this question.
That's right. You care, man. And then I just one of the a friend of ours, Paul, just added 2 more words to my 6, and that is he cries. That's right.
Yeah, you are not afraid to shed a tear.
I do cry.
Yeah, but that sometimes that's what love looks like, right? It looks like, and it's not always tears of sadness. It's tears of joy. I've seen you cry happy tears many a time. And I think one of the coolest things was recently the building that now has the Rasmus name on the side of it. Can you tell us about that? And when at the end of that video, and you look at it and then you do this, I was like, he cried right there. That's when he cried.
I did.
Yeah.
You know, so the short version on that building was that building was a reminder of how this work almost cost me my life.
Mm.
That was actually, it was important for me to have our family name on that building, because in the process of developing a place for people who are homeless to live, at one point we almost lost everything, and in the midst of almost losing everything, I wanted to take my life because of the shame.
I remember that.
Yeah, and that day I thought I contemplated taking my life. I called you, and I said I'm gonna call the person I have seen survive more shit than anybody else I know. I said, if anybody can tell me something this particular day, if anybody can give me a good reason to live beyond the day, it would be Ramal Toon, because that's one guy I have seen survive some crap. And I called you. I said, hey man, I'm really feeling like dying today. And it was a conversation. You asked me 3 really pertinent questions. I'm not gonna lift them up now, but what happened for me from that point was ultimately that day I saw my therapist. And you know what my therapist told me? He said, you know, Rudy, I've been working with you a while, and the one thing you have not done that you got to begin to do is claim your deserving.
Mm.
And she said, you don't really feel as though you deserve to be treated fairly. You don't feel as though you deserve, anything that's happened for you. And that day I had to reconcile that, number one, I made a decision to live, number two, and I think number three was not only the decision to live, but I made a decision to ultimately deserve every good thing that happens to me. So we made it through that day. I literally made it to another day. And then I came across this story about people who had jumped off of the Brooklyn Bridge and survived. Those people, the one thing that stuck with me about that story was every one of those survivors who had jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge in New York, every one of those survivors talk about how they knew the moment their second foot left the platform, they made a mistake. So when your first foot left, you didn't really feel like you made a mistake. You felt like you were fulfilling a mission. But when that second foot left the platform, in that moment you said, okay, I have made a mistake. And I thought about that. And you know what? I kept my second foot on the platform.
And you said the worthiness, like
when I got through that day, the first thing I did is started making an inventory of why I deserve to be treated fairly. Why I deserve to have everything I've worked hard for. Why I deserve love in return in the same way that I've extended it.
Yeah.
Why I deserve prosperity. Why I deserve every good gift that has come my way. And and as a result, I started thinking, what took me so long? Why did it take me so long to understand that these gifts were from a force and a source beyond me? And ultimately, we made it through. Ultimately, we were able to generate some revenue and pay $3 million in debt off to some wonderful people who committed to walk with me until I paid them. Some beautiful institutions that I owed $3 million to, that I promised I would pay back, and they walked with me literally for 3 years until I could get that money back to them.
Yeah, and I remember that time, and you weren't willing to do much, say much. You weren't preaching, and I was like, man, let's just hang out. And I was on tour, and you were like, I don't have anything to say, but I'll just come. I'll ride with you. And over time, like I could see the glimmer in your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Coming back. I was like, he's coming back. And I could see it. Like you would start talking about, hey man, did you hear? We went to SoCap, and Bain Capital mentioned they had $1 trillion in impact investing, and you perked up like $1 trillion.
$1 for the shit I do every day? What you talking? It was a wake up.
Yeah, that lets you know just those moments of being together. I think that you have said so much for the people listening tonight. That one, own your deserving, right? That your worthiness of the good that comes into your life. I think that is so important because for many of us, myself included, we deal with that, not just imposter syndrome, but that sense of not being worthy of all the good that comes our way. And for many people, especially around like money and not just financial security, but stability in our homes. I used to, and still do sometimes, wrestle with the anxiety of life is going so good. What's going to take it away? Because my childhood trauma, everything good kept getting taken away. But the point you're making resonates with me, as I'm sure with many others, that you have agency now, and it's not going to be taken away, that all the good that comes into your life, you deserve it, and you are worthy of it. And I think that is an affirmation that we probably need to state daily, right? I'm worthy of the good that has come and the good that is coming my way, and I deserve it, right?
Exactly. I'm working on a book right now. The subtitle is "What I've Learned About Prosperity from Pimps, Prophets, and Preachers." And, and you know, the beauty of this is I learned some good stuff, man, from all of those people. I learned some really good stuff from pimps. Learned some really good stuff from prophets, and I learned some really good stuff from certain preachers about prosperity. You know, and what I'm doing is putting all of it together, and it's going. Somebody said not
Not
pimps.
Pimp. Hey, there's a lot of lessons from Pimp.
A lot of pimps. It's, yeah. Just wait for that book, and it's gonna be a great one. But Ramon, I love you.
Man,
Yeah,
listen,
I appreciate.
I'm grateful you taking this time. There are some takeaways before we go. Um, the lessons that we can all learn from your dad, right?
Yeah.
One is keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Um, the other is tell the truth,
Yeah.
and keep your word, tell the truth,
And
and,
loyalty.
huh?
And loyalty.
And loyalty, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna be a friend through all the time, right?
Right.
On the good
Right.
days, but on the bad days, and any day in between. And friendship looks like showing up, and you exemplify that. So those are three, I think, important things all of us can live by, and our worthiness, and knowing that we're deserving of the good that comes in our lives, and finding your 6 words. How you want to be remembered. If your eulogy had to be summed up in 6 words, what would those be? And yours were: he laughed, he
He loved
loved, and he lived.
me.
Yeah. So
And I had two more. He cried every now and then too. So
he cried every now and then too. Hey, thank you, Rudy, so much, man. I love you, bro. Thank you for
love
saying
you.
yes to doing this and sharing these gems with everyone. This will be recorded and reposted in clips and nuggets from Rudy's wisdom. And I appreciate you, brother. I love you, man.
So Ramon, I want you to know, um, I'm really proud of you. I've seen a lot of your journey, and you were a brother that that wasn't supposed to make it out of Oakland, but you did. And I want you to know that the good that you have done in this lifetime of yours is a tribute to your mama and all the people who did what they could to get you where you are right now. So take care of yourself, man, and be kind to yourself.
Thank you, man.
Right, love you.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
Good night, y'all.
See ya.
And I got to figure out how to stop this thing and save it.